And I'm thrilled to introduce our next colleague, Sara Lovisolo. Sara is the head of Group ESG at Euronext Group, which includes Dublin Stock Exchange. And up until recently, she was the former Group Sustainability Manager at the London Stock Exchange Group, where she was responsible for sustainability management and strategy. Sara has been an active member of the UN-backed Sustainable Stock Exchange Initiative since 2014. And when I first met Sara was in Milan in 2018, where she joined the steering group of the UN-convened Financial Centres for Sustainability. Sara is still very much involved in this area, obviously given her role, and she was also part of the EU Technical Expert Group on Sustainable Finance that Curtis mentioned earlier on, the TEG, which I know Tom was involved in. And when I was talking to Sara yesterday and I was mentioning that Curtis, Tom, and everybody who was involved, she said it was like a family reunion, that all you guys are on this initiative today. So Sara, are you with us from Milan, please? Hey, Sara, how are you?
Hi, Stephen.
Look, great to see you as always. Great to hear your voice. And look, I think I'm thrilled because this is your first formal event with Euronext Group, because you formally started last Friday as the group head of ESG, right?
Indeed, lovely to represent Euronext here, and with a focus on the Irish market, the Irish company, and very interesting what you're doing here, promoting the adoption of TCFD, even though I have to say, companies are already rushing to climate disclosures. So I'm very pleased to hear that so many listed companies have become, first-time responded, for example, to CDP, and Irish companies are sort of overrepresented on the CDP A list. And as Tom was mentioning earlier, it's very important that we don't just look at the framework, the TCFD framework per se, but also at initiatives that operationalize the framework. So we see a number of ways that help companies report against the TCFD framework while getting visibility, while getting support and guidance as the upskilling exercise that you've been doing to help respondents understand the logic supporting the TCFD. And so, for example, submitting a CDP questionnaire is a sort of a proxy for doing a TCFD report, and you get feedback. And the same is setting science-based targets. This is another very effective way of turning all the TCFD philosophy into initiatives and external action on which you get feedback. Because I think the good thing is setting targets, publishing information, getting the message out there, and receiving feedback. And the best feedback you can receive clearly is from investors. You
were moving into kind of the stakeholder engagement. And my key question is, how is TCFD, and the fact that you're a supporter of TCFD reporting against, how has that allowed you to engage with your external stakeholders, but also with a lot of people who list on the Euronext exchanges, or in your previous role? How have you been able to use the fact that you're a TCFD supporter to engage with them as well, to get them to do a bit more, please?
Probably the most visible way of doing that is through our disclosure guidance. So we issued ESG reporting guidance last year, and this is a way we use to engage with, is how we engage with companies across all our markets. And we make reference there to also regulatory elements so that companies can make sense of global standards and how they talk to local regulatory requirements. And in those guidelines, you also see a clear reference to double materiality. Tom was mentioning earlier that probably companies have to disclose more than TCFD requires due to these double materiality framework in the European Union. But the two things, TCFD and double materiality, are perfectly compatible, and this is the first way. Another way of doing that is also through our advisory services. We have a division that engages with companies to encourage them to report externally, to disclose. This is a new initiative that we've recently launched, and we've started to get good feedback from companies, both listed and private. And we have a number of initiatives across markets, but we also think that embedding climate considerations into the equity story is a very important element of being a listed company. And we are very proud to see a listed company also issuing green bonds and publishing green bond frameworks. And if I can mention, for example, the AIB group, who are also sponsoring this webinar. This is an example where you see, a company with very good credentials from an environmental perspective, a climate-related perspective, that turns those credentials into a green bond story that also summarizes their strategy and in a forward-looking way. Because I think the best part of TCFD is the forward-looking part. So looking at your strategy and making sure that you are on the right trajectory to net zero.
Great, and thank you for that, Sara, because there's a question just came in from a member of the audience, which is, you've almost answered it there, because you've given, I don't know if you've sat down with the AIB guys, but it's incredible the way you've kind of captured their journey as they've built their talent base. This is a leadership, CEO, Colin and the team, and Sarah and the guys there as well. But the question that came in, and actually, as I said, you nearly answered it, was building on what Thomas said about we've been very much focused on risk management the last few years, but he said, we're now looking at, opportunities, strategies, and so on and so forth. So from the opportunity perspective, you're effectively saying, you're not trying to put words in your mouth. It's almost, this is the starting point. And if you look at the AIB as an example of how you can actually then bring something to market, would that be fair enough, what you're seeing in general, Sara?
Absolutely, especially for financial organizations, I would say, because for financial organizations, it's a matter of ensuring that they have exposure to companies who themselves capture the opportunities from the transition to a low carbon economy. So for a bank, being able to extend their lending activities to green mortgages, to companies that have plans to create a business opportunity from the transition. And to give you another example from our market, a report was issued very recently by Morgan Stanley about all the about the funds that are now categorized are Article 9 based on the SFDR, so the deep green funds. And this and one of the companies listed on the Irish Stock Exchange, Kingspan, is one of the regular holdings in those funds across the board. So this is how investors are capturing the opportunities from the transition to a low carbon economy and turning them into flows of funds to the companies that embody that those opportunities.
Great, thank you very much for that, Sara. And it's great that I can hear some of the background in Milan in the background there as well. So hope to see you in person shortly.